The massive council chamber gleamed with lights from 1,000 worlds. Ambassador Rebecca Morrison stood at the central podium, facing representatives from 47 different alien species. She had been negotiating for 3 months straight. Her eyes were tired, but her voice remained steady. The human proposal is simple, Rebecca said. The Vailian Empire stops attacking smaller worlds. In return, we create fair trade agreements that benefit everyone. A thunderous laugh echoed through the chamber. Commander Draxus of the Vailian Empire rose from his seat. He was massive, covered in dark red armor that looked like it had seen countless battles. His species had been conquering worlds for 30 years. You think you can tell us what to do, human? Draxus walked toward the center of the room. His heavy footsteps made the floor vibrate. Your people only joined this council 50 years ago. You are children playing at politics. Rebecca kept her composure. Commander, we are offering peace. A way for everyone to. I do not want your peace. Draxus slammed his fist on a nearby table, cracking it. Several smaller species flinched. While you have been talking, my fleets have been moving. While you drafted your useless proposals, we positioned our warships. The room went silent. Several ambassadors looked at each other with growing fear. Draxus smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. The Vailian Empire declares war on the coalition. Starting with you, Ambassador Morrison. Starting with humanity. Rebecca's wrist device vibrated 3 times. Emergency signal. She glanced down at the small screen. Her face went pale. New Harmony colony destroyed. 4,300,000 dead. All defense ships gone. She looked back up at Draxus. He was watching her, clearly enjoying her reaction. You attacked a farming colony, Rebecca said quietly. There were families there. Children. No military bases. Just farms. I eliminated a human presence, Draxus said casually. That is how war works, Ambassador. Something your soft species will learn very soon. The chamber erupted into chaos. Aliens were shouting, arguing, some running for the exits. Through all of it, Rebecca stood perfectly still. She stared at Draxus for a long moment. Then she spoke, her voice cutting through the noise like a knife. Then we are done talking. She turned and walked toward the exit. Her 3 human aides followed her. Ambassador Morrison. The council mediator, an old alien named Orthos, called out. Wait. We must coordinate a military response with all coalition members. We need to plan. Rebecca stopped and turned back. Give us 48 hours. 48 hours. Orthos looked confused. But they are already attacking. We must respond now. 48 hours, Rebecca repeated. That is all we need. As the humans left, Draxus laughed loudly. Look at them run. The humans are cowards. They stall because they are afraid to fight. He turned to his officers. Prepare the fleets. We will attack Earth next. Let us show the entire galaxy what happens to those who stand against us. But in the back of the chamber, some of the older species said nothing. They had seen something in Ambassador Morrison's eyes. Something that worried them deeply. It was not fear. On board the human ship called Steadfast, Rebecca stood in a private communication room. She was no longer wearing her diplomatic robes. Instead, she wore a dark military uniform that her aide, Lieutenant James Cooper, had brought her. The Security Council is waiting for your authorization, James said quietly. Rebecca looked at the authorization pad in her hands. It displayed 2 words, Protocol Rubicon. For 50 years, this protocol had remained sealed. For 50 years, humanity had pretended to be peaceful traders and diplomats. She pressed her thumb against the scanner. Send the message to all human military installations, she said. Her voice was cold now, nothing like the warm diplomatic tone she had used for years. Tell them we tried to avoid this. Across human space, on 200 worlds and 1,000 hidden stations, the same message appeared. Protocol Rubicon activated. Unseal all weapons. Recall all fleets. They chose war. Now they learn why we cherished peace. In a massive hidden station called Cerberus 9, Admiral William Reeves received the message. He was 73 years old. He had spent 50 years in ceremonial military positions while the real human military remained hidden in the shadows. He had been a young soldier during humanity's last great war, before they met aliens. He had waited his entire career for this order. He had prayed it would never come. He looked at Commander Patricia Hayes, his executive officer. Activate all hidden fleets. And Patricia? Yes, sir? God help them all. They have no idea what they just started. 24 hours after the attack on New Harmony, the Valyrian Empire was celebrating. In the grand hall of their capital world, Commander Draxus stood before cheering crowds. Holographic displays showed the burning remains of the human colony. This is just the beginning. Draxus shouted. The humans hide in their ships. They delay. They make excuses. This proves what we always knew. They are weak. The crowd roared with approval. Across Valyrian space, military commanders shared drinks and made bets on how quickly they could conquer Earth. Meanwhile, in the Galactic Council chambers, the other species were confused and worried. The Cephian ambassador spoke first. The humans have not responded at all. No fleet movements. No declarations. Nothing. Perhaps they truly are afraid, suggested a reptilian delegate from the Thorax Confederation. They have always been peaceful since joining us. Maybe they simply cannot fight. The elderly Orthos shook his head slowly. I do not think so. I have studied human history since they joined the council. Before they met us, they were different. Different how? Asked another ambassador. Their records are incomplete. Heavily edited. But I found references to something they call the Unification Wars. Whatever happened during that time, they do not speak about it. Ever. Meanwhile, across human space, something was happening. Something the galaxy could not see. On the hidden fortress station Cerberus 9, Admiral William Reeves watched as dozens of ships came online. These were not the simple cargo vessels and patrol boats the galaxy knew about. These were warships. Real warships. Their hulls were black, designed to absorb sensor scans. Their weapons were sealed behind heavy armor plating. Ghost Fleet Tango reporting ready, sir, came a voice over the comm. Ghost Fleet November reporting ready. Ghost Fleet Sierra reporting ready. One by one, 20 hidden fleets checked in. Thousands of ships that the galaxy did not know existed. Commander Patricia Hayes stood beside the Admiral. Sir, all civilian vessels have been recalled. Every human freighter, passenger ship, and transport is returning to protected space. Good, Reeves said. I want every human civilian out of the line of fire. What about the weapons? All arsenals are being unsealed now. Railgun platforms are coming online. Plasma batteries are charging. The AI targeting systems are activating. Reeves nodded. He walked to the observation window and looked out at the ships gathering in the darkness. 50 years, he said quietly. 50 years we kept this hidden. 50 years we pretended to be merchants and diplomats. Patricia joined him at the window. Do you think it was worth it, sir? The pretending? We learned about them, Reeves said. We learned their technologies, their weaknesses, their strategies. And most importantly, we showed them we could be trusted. That we wanted peace. He paused. But now they will learn the other truth about humanity. What truth is that, sir? That we are very, very good at war. We had to be. We nearly destroyed ourselves learning how. Across human space, hidden installations came to life. On the moon of Titan, massive railgun batteries emerged from beneath the surface. On Mars, underground factories began producing ammunition at incredible rates. Around Earth itself, thousands of defense platforms uncloaked, revealing themselves for the first time. The human population watched in shock. Many had never known these weapons existed. Parents held their children and wondered what kind of species they really were. A broadcast went out on all human channels. It was Admiral Reeves speaking. His face was old and tired, but his eyes were hard as steel. People of humanity, he began. For 50 years, we have lived in peace with the galaxy. We traded with them. We learned from them. We called them friends. We did this because we remembered what we were before. We remembered the wars that nearly ended us. We swore we would never be that species again. He paused, and his voice grew colder. But they attacked New Harmony. They killed 4 million of our people. They murdered families in their sleep. And now they mock us for not responding fast enough. Another pause. When he spoke again, his words were measured and deadly calm. They think we are weak because we chose peace. They are about to learn the difference between choosing peace and being incapable of war. They asked for violence. They will receive it. The broadcast ended with a simple message scrolling across every screen in human space. They wanted war. We gave them 50 years of peace. Now they will understand why we treasured it so dearly. On the Valyrian homeworld, intelligence officers intercepted some of the human communications. They brought reports to Commander Draxus about unusual activity in human space. Ignore it, Draxus said, waving his hand dismissively. They are probably evacuating their worlds. Running scared. Our main fleet will reach Earth in 40 hours. Prepare for the final victory. But in the darkness of space, thousands of human warships were moving. Silent. Invisible. Waiting. The 48 hours were almost up. The Valerian main battle fleet arrived at the edge of the Sol system exactly 48 hours after the ultimatum. 3,000 warships emerged from faster-than-light travel in perfect formation. It was the largest invasion force the Valerian Empire had ever assembled. Commander Draxus stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Crimson Fist. He looked at the tactical display showing the small blue planet called Earth in the distance. Begin the attack, he ordered. Show no mercy. But then something appeared on the sensors that made the tactical officer freeze. Commander, the officer said, his voice shaking. I am detecting thousands of contacts. They are surrounding the entire system. Impossible, Draxus said. Human intelligence reported they have maybe 500 warships total. You are reading civilian traffic. No, sir. These are weapons platforms. Railgun batteries. Missile clusters. They are everywhere. Draxus walked to the sensor station and looked at the display. His blood ran cold. The entire Sol system was surrounded by a defensive grid so thick it looked like a wall of metal and fire. How did we not know about this? He whispered. Then the human fleet appeared. Not 500 ships. Not 1,000. Nearly 4,000 warships uncloaked simultaneously. They had been hiding in the darkness, invisible to Valerian sensors. These ships looked nothing like the peaceful cargo vessels the galaxy knew. They were sharp, angular, built purely for combat. Their hulls were black as night. Weapons bristled from every surface. A transmission came through. Admiral William Reeves appeared on the main screen. Commander Draxus. You were warned. You chose this. You think your toys frighten us? Draxus snarled. We outnumber you. We have conquered 100 worlds. Yes, Reeves said calmly. You have fought species who barely understood warfare. We grew up in it. We perfected it. We nearly destroyed ourselves with it. He leaned forward. Last chance. Surrender now. Draxus cut the transmission. All ships, attack formation. Fire at will. The Valerian fleet surged forward. Their plasma cannons fired in massive volleys that lit up the darkness of space. The human defensive platforms responded instantly. Thousands of railguns fired simultaneously. The metal slugs moved at impossible speeds, accelerated to a fraction of light speed. When they hit Valerian shields, the shields simply collapsed. When they hit armor, the armor exploded. 50 Valerian ships were destroyed in the first 30 seconds. Evasive maneuvers. Draxus screamed. Return fire. But the human ships were already moving. They did not fly in simple formations like other species. They moved like a single living organism, each ship covering another, creating overlapping fields of fire. Their targeting was perfect. Every shot hit. Nothing was wasted. The Valerian fleet tried to close the distance, but human missile platforms launched thousands of projectiles. These were not simple explosives. They had AI guidance systems that could not be fooled by electronic countermeasures. They twisted and turned through space, hunting their targets with terrifying efficiency. They have locked our communications, a Valerian officer shouted. I cannot coordinate with the other battle groups. Impossible. Our encryption is. They broke it, sir. They are inside our network. Draxus watched in horror as his fleet was systematically destroyed. The humans did not fight with passion or rage. They fought with cold, mechanical precision. Every move was calculated. Every shot was planned. In the Galactic Council chambers, every species was watching the battle through long-range sensors. The chamber was completely silent. Ambassador Rebecca Morrison stood before them, still wearing her military uniform. You asked why we requested 48 hours, she said quietly. This is why. We needed time to prepare. Not because we are weak. Because we wanted to be sure. Sure of what? Orthos asked, his voice barely a whisper. Sure that there was no other choice. Rebecca gestured to the holographic display showing the battle. For 50 years, we hid what we really are. We acted like peaceful traders because we wanted to be peaceful. Because we learned what war costs. She turned to face the assembled aliens. You see, before we met you, we fought ourselves. Humanity nearly went extinct in wars so terrible we deleted most of the records. We swore we would never be that species again. But you are being that species now, said one ambassador. No, Rebecca corrected. We are being controlled. Efficient. The species we were before would have glassed the Vailian homeworld already. We are showing restraint. On the tactical display, the Battle of Sol was ending. Of 3,000 Vailian ships, fewer than 200 remained. They were trying to retreat. Let them go, Admiral Reeves ordered. Let them report what they saw. But the battle was not over. Even as the Vailian survivors fled, other human fleets were appearing deep in Vailian space. They had somehow bypassed every defense, every sensor network, every early warning system. Ghost fleets. Invisible until they wanted to be seen. Commander Draxus collapsed into his command chair as his damaged flagship limped away from Sol. How? He whispered. How did they do this? His tactical officer looked at him with haunted eyes. Sir, I just received a message from our homeworld. Human fleets have appeared in orbit. They are demanding our surrender. Draxus said nothing. He simply stared at the display, watching Earth grow smaller in the distance. The planet they had come to conquer. The planet that had destroyed them without even being touched. Commander Draxus sat in his command center on the Vailian homeworld, surrounded by his senior officers. The holographic display showed human fleets positioned around 4 to 7 different Vailian star systems. Every major military base. Every shipyard. Every strategic planet. How long have they been there? Draxus demanded. We do not know, sir, his intelligence chief admitted. They appeared simultaneously across our entire empire. Their stealth technology is beyond anything we imagined possible. A transmission request came through. Draxus accepted it. Admiral William Reeves appeared on the screen. Commander Draxus, I am offering you one final chance. Surrender unconditionally. Release all enslaved populations. Submit to war crimes trials. Do this, and your people will be treated fairly. Draxus slammed his fist on the console. Never. We are the Vailian Empire. We have armies on 100 worlds. You cannot defeat us all. Reeves' expression did not change. Very well. You have made your choice. The transmission ended. Draxus turned to his officers. Mobilize every garrison. Call up every reserve unit. We have numbers on our side. We will drown them in bodies if we must. But Admiral Reeves had already given the order. Operation Broken Chain had begun. Across Vailian space, human forces struck with perfect coordination. They did not attack randomly. They had studied the Vailian Empire for 50 years. They knew every weakness. On the industrial world of Tarak 5, human special forces infiltrated the massive slave labor camps. They moved through the shadows like ghosts. The Vailian guards never saw them coming. Within hours, 50,000 enslaved aliens were freed. The humans gave them weapons and training. Your oppressors are distracted, said Captain Thomas Reed to the freed slaves. Now is your chance. Fight with us, or we will evacuate you to safety. The choice is yours. Most chose to fight. On the military fortress world of Valdris, human warships appeared in orbit. But they did not immediately attack. Instead, they broadcast a message directly to the Vailian soldiers below. Your commanders have led you into an unwinnable war. They attacked civilians. They started this. We do not want to kill you. Surrender now, and you will be treated with dignity according to galactic law. Half the garrison surrendered within an hour. The other half prepared to fight, but found their communication systems jammed, their orbital defenses disabled, and their supply lines cut. They surrendered by the end of the day. This pattern repeated across the Empire. The humans did not simply destroy. They liberated. They turned the Valorians' own conquered species against them. Populations that had been enslaved for decades rose up with human support. Commander Patricia Hayes led a Marine battalion toward Draxus's command bunker on the homeworld. The Vailian Home Guard fought hard, but they were defending fixed positions against an enemy that could see through walls with advanced sensors and coordinate perfectly through quantum communications. Breach in 30 seconds, Patricia said calmly into her comm. Non-lethal weapons authorized. These are conscripts, not war criminals. The human Marines moved through the bunker like a surgical strike. Stun weapons. Smoke grenades. Precision. Within 20 minutes, they reached the command center. Draxus stood with a plasma pistol in his hand, pointing it at the door. When the humans entered, he expected monsters. Instead, he saw soldiers. Professional. Controlled. Their weapons were aimed at him, but no one fired. Commander Draxus, Patricia said, her helmet retracting to show her face. Put down the weapon. This is over. You cannot do this. Draxus screamed. We are a proud empire. We have ruled for centuries. You enslaved innocents. You attacked civilians. You chose war over peace. Patricia's voice was hard. Put down the weapon or we will take it from you. Draxus looked at the soldiers surrounding him. Every weapon was steady. Every face was calm. These were not warriors drunk on victory. They were professionals doing an unpleasant job. He dropped the pistol. In the Galactic Council chambers, the other species watched in stunned silence. The entire Valyrian Empire had collapsed in 72 hours. Not through destruction, but through surgical precision. The most terrifying part was the human casualty reports. Minimal. Less than 1,000 wounded. Fewer than 100 dead. The humans had dismantled an empire that had threatened the galaxy for decades, and barely suffered losses. How is this possible? One ambassador whispered. Ambassador Rebecca Morrison stood before them. Because we have fought wars you cannot imagine. We perfected warfare against ourselves. Every tactic the Valorians used, we invented first. Every strategy they tried, we had already counted decades ago. But your losses? Orthos said. You barely lost anyone. Because we learned, Rebecca said coldly. We learned that war is not about glory or honor or pride. War is about ending the threat as quickly and efficiently as possible so that peace can return. The Valorians never understood that. On a transport ship heading to a secure facility, Draxus sat in restraints. A human guard stood nearby, a young corporal named Michael. You let us think you were weak, Draxus said bitterly. You let us think you were prey. Michael looked at him. No, sir. We let you think we were like you. We're not. We don't want your territory. We don't want slaves. We wanted peace. You took that choice away. So what happens now? Now you face trial for war crimes. The species you enslaved will testify. You will be judged by galactic law. Michael paused. And we will make sure no one else follows your path. Draxus slumped in his seat. You will rule the galaxy now. You will become what we were. No, Michael said firmly. We will guard it. There is a difference. 1 week after the fall of the Valyrian Empire, Ambassador Rebecca Morrison stood before the Galactic Council once again. But this time, the atmosphere was completely different. Every species representative sat in tense silence. Some looked afraid. Others looked angry. All of them were waiting. The Valyrian Empire is dissolved, Rebecca announced. All enslaved populations have been freed. War crimes trials will begin next month. Commander Draxus and his senior officers will face justice. And what about humanity? Asked the Thorax ambassador, his voice sharp. You have fleets positioned across a quarter of the galaxy. You have weapons we never knew existed. You defeated an empire in 3 days. What stops you from becoming the next Valyrian Empire? Rebecca had expected this question. That is exactly what we want to discuss. The Council needs a new structure. New laws. Laws that actually have power. What do you mean? Orthos asked carefully. The Valyrian Empire conquered and enslaved for 30 years while this council talked and debated. You passed resolutions that meant nothing. You created sanctions that were ignored. Rebecca's voice was firm but not cruel. That cannot happen again. We propose a new galactic constitution with enforceable laws. Laws against conquest. Laws against slavery. Laws that protect the weak from the strong. And who enforces these laws? Asked the Cephian ambassador. You? Yes, Rebecca said simply. Until the galaxy proves it can maintain peace itself, humanity will serve as peacekeepers. We will patrol the borders. We will respond to threats. We will protect those who cannot protect themselves. The chamber erupted in arguments. Some species were outraged at the idea of human oversight. Others were terrified of refusing. The debate went on for hours. Finally, the elderly Orthos stood. Ambassador Morrison, what you propose is essentially giving humanity control over the entire galaxy. You say you are peacekeepers, but history shows that those with absolute power become tyrants. How do we know you will not become what you destroyed? Rebecca was quiet for a moment. Then she spoke, her voice softer now. Because we have been tyrants before. To ourselves. We know exactly what that path leads to. We know the cost. She looked around the chamber. We are not asking for your trust because we deserve it. We are telling you this is how it will be. But we promise you this, we will not conquer. We will not enslave. We will not rule. We will guard. And if we refuse, the Thorax ambassador demanded. Then you refuse, Rebecca said. But the new laws will still be enforced. The difference is whether you help shape them or simply live under them. One by one, the species began to accept. Some did so eagerly, especially those who had suffered under Valyrian aggression. Others accepted reluctantly, knowing they had no real choice. But all of them accepted. The new galactic constitution was written over the next 3 months. It had teeth. It had consequences. And it had humanity standing behind it. 10 years passed. The galaxy had changed dramatically. There were no major wars. No new empires rising. The freed slave populations had rebuilt their worlds with human assistance. Trade flourished. Technology advanced. Human fleets patrolled the spaceways, but they rarely fired their weapons. Their mere presence was enough. Every species knew what humanity was capable of. No one wanted to test them. On the former Valyrian homeworld, now renamed Liberation, Commander Draxus sat in a comfortable prison cell. It was not cruel, but it was permanent. Through his window, he could see the species he had once enslaved rebuilding their civilizations. Children playing in parks that had once been slave quarters. Families living in homes built on the ruins of his empire. He would spend the rest of his life watching them thrive. Admiral William Reeves had retired 5 years earlier. He lived in a small house on Earth, tending a garden. Sometimes young officers would visit him, asking about the war. He always told them the same thing: we won because we were prepared. But we only fought because we had no choice. Never forget that difference. Ambassador Rebecca Morrison was now the Galactic Peacekeeper Coordinator. She was older now, her hair gray, but her eyes were still sharp. She traveled from world to world, settling disputes before they became conflicts, building relationships, and always watching for the next threat. One day, a new species made first contact with the Council. They were young, curious, and excited. During their orientation, one of them asked a Cephian diplomat a question. Why does everyone seem so careful around the humans? They have been very kind to us. The Cephian diplomat thought carefully before answering. Because they are the only species that truly fears itself. They know what they are capable of. They know what they could become. And that self-awareness makes them the most dangerous species in the galaxy. But also the most trustworthy, the young alien asked. Yes, the diplomat admitted. They chose to be guardians instead of conquerors. They chose to protect instead of rule. Not because they lack the power to rule, but because they understand the responsibility that comes with power. Rebecca Morrison stood in her office that evening, looking out at the stars. A new generation of human peacekeepers was training on the station below. Young men and women who had grown up in this new peaceful galaxy. They did not remember the Valyrian War. They did not know what humanity had been like before first contact. She wondered if that was good or dangerous. Would they remember why humanity restrained itself? Would they understand the burden they carried? Her assistant, Lieutenant David Chen, entered with the daily reports. Everything quiet today. No incidents. No conflicts. Rebecca smiled slightly. Good. That is exactly how it should be. She thought about the long road humanity had traveled. From nearly destroying themselves, to hiding their true nature, to becoming the galaxy's guardians. It had not been easy. It had not been simple. But it had been necessary. David, she said quietly, make sure the new peacekeepers study history. All of it. Especially our history. The parts we do not like to talk about. Yes? May I ask why? Rebecca turned from the window. Because the moment we forget what we were, we risk becoming it again. We are not guardians because we are good. We are guardians because we know how bad we can be. And that knowledge keeps us honest. Across the galaxy, on thousands of worlds, trillions of beings lived in peace. They traded, they learned, they grew. And watching over them, always vigilant, always careful, were the humans. The species that had learned to fear themselves. And in that fear, found wisdom.